We're going up, up, up to the Upper Marae, where stories lift and voices fly. Put your tea towels down, let your worries fade. Open the gates, let the memories cascade. In this podcast world, we give it our best. So grab your cup or come say hi, no jest. We're going up to the Upper Marae, where conversations flow and spirits can't lie.
Kia ora and welcome to the Upper Marae. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Alexander Stevens II. The gates are now open. Today we continue on our theme for Samoan Language Week 2026. I'm with a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
Chehu! Maloso afua. My name is Lilomaiava Ravi Singh Aujla, representing the villages of Matanofo Whalilatai and Nofo Ali'i in Samoa, as well as some Fijian Indian roots of Ba in Fiji. It's my pleasure to be here. Dr. Alexander Stevens II.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Very good, sir. Let's start with what does Samoan Language Week mean to you and your ainga?
Yeah, it's just a really good opportunity to be planted in my heritage and our roots and traditions. It's a good opportunity to remind the kids of their identity and obviously myself. But more importantly, it's an opportunity just to be proud to be a Samoan in this day and age in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And, you know, we talk about 6A5 to the world. This is literally an example of us being able to showcase that. And we're just so privileged that even in a country like New Zealand, that we get to celebrate Samoa as a language, as a people, as a culture. And so it means a lot, to say the least.
Aye. Talk to me, because you are the first Matai from this series. Talk to me about your title and what does it mean? Because I know Nigel recognised it. So
yeah, Lilomaiava is the name of my chief title. And the best way to think of a Matai title is you're a custodian of, very important, respectful, chiefly duty. As a Matai, I'm what's called an ali'i, so I'm a non-talking chief. And my role as a chief is to serve our people, serve our village, serve my ainga or family. But very, very fortunate and blessed to have experienced the nofo or Matai ceremony. And back in, when was it, 2024, I believe? Yeah, 2024, early 2024, my mum sat me down and had a conversation around, son, I really want you to consider becoming a Matai for our family. And to be honest, I was thinking, Mum, I just don't feel good enough. I don't want to be someone who gets a Matai title like a participation award. I really want to, give it some good thought and really, be good enough for it. And, it was my mum that convinced me. She said, if you keep thinking like that, you're always going to be thinking like that. And you get it and embrace it and learn it. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And little did we know that the following year would lose mum. We had no idea when mum had that conversation. I like to think she was onto something. But
yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, in its own beautiful way. And because of that, we were able to, as part of her passing, follow, our Samoan tradition and ensure that I had a voice at the table as well. And with my uncles who, were Matais as well, was able to experience a lot of the chiefly duties, which was beautiful, to do that for my mum. And so Lilomaiava literally just means hidden beyond the reef.
Wow.
Yeah, that's basically the translation or what I've been told. And there's a further backstory to it, but can't recall too much of the details. But it's to do with a prince of Samoa who swam between the islands and again hidden beyond the reef, as the king sort of saw, and that's where the name Lilomaiava came from, is my understanding or what was told to me by those from my village of Matanofo Whalilatai, which is where I had my Matai ceremony.
So it's quite a beautiful title, because what you're also describing is that it's been passed from generation to
100%. Like I said, you're a custodian, right?
Yeah.
You're carrying this title and all its, mana, which we would say in Te Reo, but you're carrying a lot of its heritage, history. And again, my job is to give it justice. And,
Yes.
and again, before I pass on, it's just a handing of the baton.
Now, I know that you're saying that your title is a non-speaking role, but that would make this podcast very short, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By way of introduction, tell everyone that's listening who are you before we dive in any further, because you do have an interesting history.
Very, very interesting history. So, as I said, I am of Samoan and Fijian Indian heritage. I call myself the coconut curry, smooth and spicy, brother.
Shall we make that the podcast title and see how many people make a complaint?
Absolutely.
Right.
Bring it on. But yes, very fortunate to be born and raised in New Zealand. Always been in Rewa, Manuia. Life is hard, but Rewa's harder, as they say.
I see where this podcast is going to go.
Lived in Manuia all my life, and very proud to represent my South Auckland roots. I have 3 sisters, no brothers. So I have 2 older sisters, 1 younger sister. I always tell people it's like having 3 extra mums you never asked for. So if they're listening to this, my bad. And have been married to my wife for over 10 years now. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We're high school sweethearts.
Yes.
I went to De La Salle College.
As did I.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Bottom certain.
Fight the good fight. The good fight. And look, absolutely loved high school. One of the best experiences of my life. And we have 3 beautiful children now. We have Seb, my son, who's 10. Daughter Sarah, she's 7. And Sophia, who's 8 months old. And what's really beautiful is she was actually due to be born on my mum's birthday, the same year that she passed. And the beautiful thing about it is she ended up coming on my birthday.
Oh, that's right. I forgot this. That is a blessing.
Beautiful thing where, mum getting the last laugh of, although she was due on her birthday, she was like, no, I'll literally make things work so that Sophia was born on the same day that my mum gave birth to me. So it was just this little beautiful thing that we got to enjoy. But I love life, love who I am, and love representing our people.
Yes.
I work at ASB Bank as a leadership coach. Official title is business customer experience coach. Been there for coming up to 14 years, and I have the absolute privilege of also co-chairing our ASB Pacifica network. So
beautiful. You're a rising star. I mean, these are accolades back in what year now?
Rising star. I wouldn't go that far. Now, I was very fortunate in the past to be awarded the CEO Excellence Award for Individual Brilliance. I can't believe you remember that.
Oh, how can I
impressive.
not? It was a media splash all over. And of course, our relationship is also based on financial capability, because you came along to a retirement commission conference.
High five.
That's right, of which I presented, and then we got talking on a table, and I think it was that De La Salle experience that
indeed
brought us together.
We were actually at the there was the retirement commission conference.
Yes,
you ran a workshop on navigating the waters of Pacific.
That's right,
Pacific people in terms of financial literacy. And you shared something about with your basket and my basket that people will thrive. And they have. And I saw you drop the mic and throw it at the audience.
That's right. Then I aimed it right at you. I remember that I aimed it at you. You gave me a thumbs up.
It was good. And since then, it's been amazing. And yes, you gave me the opportunity to present for, was that the retirement commission?
That was for Money Week as well.
It was for Money Week?
That actually featured as one of the highest videos at the time.
I'll take that. Along with any royalties that you received.
Yes. In fact, if anything, you were part of that whole... That was that initiative where I thought, how do I get all the banks to play ball for Money Week? And it was the first time it had been done in the country.
Nice.
And then when I thought, I'm unstoppable. If you can get... And I remember we got ASB was one of the first on board.
How good.
I can't remember who I talked to at the time, but short story, they said, if you can get us and ANZ, everybody else will fall
in
line. And that's exactly what happened. And then everything just flowed. And I remember, before we ask you these questions... There were big fights because everyone wanted to be on the $100 bill, but I colour coordinated it, and it just so happened.
Ah, nice.
Obviously with that yellow orange,
so
it was ASB.
$5, yeah. Right.
Blue was BNZ.
Right.
Green was Kiwi Bank. Bluey purple was ANZ. Red was Westpac.
Fair enough.
We did it. So That's right. I forgot that you're a part of history. And in many ways, this, a good Samoan word that I like is Talanoa. And so, in a sense, this digital version is a Talanoa that your future grandkids might be listening to, say, 50 years from now, to kind of understand.
Love Upper Marae. It's good to be here,
So, since we're talking about, you talked about your kids and we're talking about, those that are coming in the future generations, why do you think it is important to keep the Samoan language alive?
Yeah, very much
for future generations?
Very much like the honor of being a Matai for my family. If you think about language, it's something that's been passed on for hundreds of years. And so by keeping the language alive, you're keeping the legacy of all those who came before you alive as well. And for me, although I'm not the strongest Samoan speaker, I'm still proud of how much I can speak. By continuously doing my best to continue to learn and better my Samoa, it's my way of not only honouring my mum, but honouring my grandma, my grandpa, my great-grandparents, etc., my village. And so I think it's so important to keep the language alive, because that's how we keep the legacy of Samoa alive.
Yes. You've talked a little bit about your mum, but obviously your mum's had a significant impact on you.
Well, I think it's safe to say I'm a mama's boy. I've been very fortunate.
So am I. I think we both are. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But
with pride.
Absolutely, with pride. And that's not to say that my dad and I aren't close, etc. I love the relationship I have with my dad, and it's obviously been even more special since mum passed, and having that very close connection with dad. But mama's boy through and through. Mum was, just that person who saw something in me and banged it out of me in terms of, my skills and talents, etc. I shared at her, funeral unintentionally that, I was a very quiet boy in school, to the point where some teachers thought I was mute. And, my mum just would convince me that I was a confident and active boy in everything that I do. She would sign me up for speech competitions. She would tell my teachers and my dean that he wants to be a leader. I hadn't said anything.
Wow.
And so it's this beautiful mix of, tough parenting, but a big difference between that and actually seeing, something, a little spark in your kids and knowing your children and actually see them flourish and get to that point. And so, I've had the privilege of emceeing, facilitating so many different events that I can't even count anymore. And I say that with the utmost humility. But it all came down to my mum seeing something in me to go, you can publicly speak, you can lead, you can host, you can MC, etc. You can do what you do in agile flavor is what I call it. Sorry, we're talking while my cat is trying to climb through the kitchen window.
Oh, I love it. What's your cat's name?
Gigi. She was supposedly half ragdoll kitten. But I think she's actually a dog.
She's 100% mischief.
She's 100% a dog.
I love it. Now, one of the things that I've been asking our other special guests is, what are some Samoan words or phrases that everyone should learn? So I was thinking about my own journey of growing up. So the first words that was sa vale vale, that was back at primary school.
Good.
Then salu, because our next door neighbour, the poor mum, was always asking.
Smacking with the salu.
Always asking you wani to go get it. And you just knew what was going to happen after that. And then my third word was whapapa.
Oh, I love it. Wow. That makes you Samoan there, Dr. Alexander. That's impressive.
And then I was thinking, I guess would be dala.
Nice.
When it comes to us. So given that's my fourth Samoan word. What about you? What about you, brother? What are some Samoan words or everyday language that you think people should be practicing?
I would probably say, malo soifua. I think that's a cool one, because it's something that you can apply all the time. Malo soifua means good health to you.
As in kia ora means wellness. Yeah,
exactly. So it's literally the same thing, and I think that's a nice, easy learn. So again, malo soifua. And, when you're going for walks and you go past someone, you might say malo soifua.
Yes.
You might introduce yourself after you've said, kia ora, malo lelei, talo falava, malo soifua. And yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a nice, easy phrase to learn. And then there's also the fia ai. I'm hungry.
Oh,
I want to eat.
I haven't heard this one.
Fia ai. That's the universal language and statement of the heart. Fia ai.
I'm hungry.
Yes, indeed.
Was this one that you would
I want to
often
eat.
use growing up?
Oh
or?
yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I know that I like to show, so while most people, my one's malo lava,
Nice.
just something different.
Yeah.
Are the phrases that you pass on to your own kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good example. Tulou is a very important one to
Nigel
try.
was talking about that yesterday. He said it's one of the older words.
Malo Nigel, love it. Which is, excuse me, that
Yes.
sort of thing. And just introducing themselves. O lo ingoa, my name.
That came up by, Philip mentioned that in the first podcast
nice,
as well.
nice.
So this is beautiful.
Yeah, nice. And fa'a mole mole, which means please.
Right.
Fa'a mole mole. And it's, you teach your kids manners very young and respect.
Well, your children have got beautiful manners. I love
Thank
it.
you. We'll take that. They decide when to turn it on
Yeah.
and turn it off, though. Behind closed doors, they say. But yes, so, respect is a very important value in our Samoan culture. And it starts at a very young age.
Well, let's talk about this. And how does language connect people to culture, identity, and belonging?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real good question. I would probably say, very similarly to what I shared around how, language keeps your identity alive, etc.
Yes.
But it also, to your point, it provides the common ground for people.
Yes.
Yes. It brightens the room when you see a fellow Samoan, to be honest, in terms of, you might not know them, but you hear their name, you speak the language to them, etc. It can really make a tangible difference in terms of, your overall atmosphere, etc.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd probably say just creating that common ground.
Yeah, that whanaungatanga.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That connection.
It is true, though, because at conferences, and I think this is why I kind of gravitated towards you. If you remember, there was that table of what I call the chocolate chips, so we kind of came together and we were networking hard in terms of how do we know each other.
No, 100%. Ask me that question again, Alexander,
Yeah,
just to make sure I don't have anything.
No, you
that
do
I
exactly what I do. How does language connect people to culture, identity, and belonging?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I do resonate with what I shared. But also it keeps you intentional. Language keeps you intentional around, again, just keeping the culture alive. I think about what Samoan Language Week has done for, every organisation that celebrates it. It gives, our Samoan community that sense of pride, but more importantly, the opportunity to showcase their culture. And because it's all around the language, it means that they too get to reflect and, unintentionally think about, their upbringing, the lessons that their parents and grandparents pass on to them as part of trying to prepare for, a special day, etc.
Aye. And that clearly is reflected in who you are as well. That
Thank you, bro.
ancestors' knowledge being passed from one generation
100%.
to the next. In many ways, I was just thinking, when you were talking about before your mum's passing, it was almost kind of prophetic in a way that she wanted to set you up to take on the next generation of responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she obviously, had a bit of good reflection and hindsight to go, I really want you to do this. And just as I shared, little did we know that by January the following year, she'd be, graduating into heaven. And that's part of her legacy too. So every time I, use the name Lilomaiava, it's my reminder that, I'm here because I was honouring my mum and part of her legacy, keeping it alive.
100%.
So,
That actually leads beautifully onto the next question, which is what role do our elders and family play in teaching the Samoan language?
A very, very big role. And that's an understatement. The elders are very important in our community, and what sets Pacifica people, and I say Pacifica, not just Samoan, apart is the village mindset. We operate through a village. We're not thinking about individual, we're thinking about the collective.
Yes.
And so when I think about, the influence of elders, the fact that they're able to have such an important role in our community and village, it just means that, the traditions don't die, the language doesn't die, the values don't die, and more importantly, the family stays strong, like your strong piece of wood or tree, that just takes on whatever comes at it. And I think if you look at it from a Western perspective, the beauty of having this type of upbringing is it means you have a diverse voice at the table.
Agreed.
You're bringing a community or a person who's thinking about a collective mindset rather than just an individual mindset. And it just, again, adds that diversity of ideas and thinking to the table.
This is what I'm loving about our kids, and especially my nephews and nieces, because there's such a diversity of Pacific. Like there's Samoan, Tonga, Cook Island, Niue, and I'm just like, the scholarships are going to be amazing, for them to level up. So, do you now consider yourself an elder, or do you see yourself some time away from this, Ravi? Because someone the other day called me Matua, and I'm looking around like...
Matua Alexander,
where are they? They're like, oh, how are you, Matua?
Wow.
You don't know this, but I went to go into a building, and they're like, oh, Matua, let me open the door. And I was looking around like, where's the old person? And they opened the door for me, and I was like, I'm not old.
Wow.
I'm not old. And they're like, I said, no, I can do this myself. And they're like, no, Matua, I want to show respect to my elders.
The audacity. Like, did they give you a cane as well to go
with it? Brother, I felt like I should have
had.
I want to have a staff like Gandalf, right? But I was just
well, you have the Aragon sword.
I do, you remember, I do have the Aragon sword, but what I'm saying to you is that made me think I am not ready for that title of Matua. I barely hold the title of Doctor.
Well, brother, take it this way. I've been called uncle since I was like 21 from, people that were probably just a few years younger than me. So you take it on the chin, you take it for what it is, which is a sign of respect, Dr. Alexander. So
noted.
So you need to believe it, all right? But I'll probably consider myself unwantedly at Matua status now. The knees are old, bro. The knees are
can
old.
Hear them creak from here,
I
brother.
emceed a wedding for my cousin over the weekend, and I needed to elevate my knees after... It was a 10-hour wedding, to my defense, but
10.
I needed to.
Have you emceeing? 10 hours?
Yeah. It was a long day, very long day, and it was a beautiful wedding between my cousin, who's Samoan, and my now cousin-in-law, who was already part of the family, anyways, who was Tongan. So this beautiful, united celebration of two beautiful cultures that came to life, and it was just my privilege to be able to deliver that, and
A side note, I mean, this is what I like about being a celebrant. Literally, it's about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you back off and...
absolutely.
You did it for 10 euros.
I mean, gotta love the celebrants, but the MCs are the hard yakkers, man.
100%.
It's a thankless job, man. It's a thankless job.
Talk to me. So we both went to the same school, #DLSL, although I went there for less than 6 months and you were there for how long?
Well, you're still Arcellian. 7 years. From 2003 to 2009, and... Class of 09 is very important to me to this day. We're all still in touch. We're all very active in terms of messenger chat, etc. And
there is a connection I found with DLSL, with the boys of certain years. You see it on Facebook or Instagram. What I mean? It does create brotherhood. So given that, my question is, how can schools and communities better support Samoan Language Week learning?
Nice. Yeah, I think it's, I have the privilege of being on a board, so I've seen it from both sides for a school, and I've seen how important it is to obviously abide by regulation, meet the government standards, etc. But I've also seen how beautiful it is when schools have these light bulb moments, and shout out to St. Anne's as an example in Manuia, where, they see the importance of celebrating cultural diversity. And all I mean by that is, allowing your children of a particular cultural community, and not just Samoan, obviously, to have a voice, to have their opinion shared, to think blue skies around, how can my identity or culture be celebrated or recognized at school. I think that's really important. You talk about Talanoa, so being able to actually create a platform that allows that is so important. That sense of belonging is really important. And, again, having the privilege of being on a school board allows me to see it from both sides. And you can't...
Of course you're on a school board. I just realised. How many boards are you on?
Mātua.
But you're on a few.
I'm a mātua. Hey,
you're on a few. No, this isn't a
let
lot.
me answer the question, please.
No. But this, I love this. How many boards are you on now?
I am
It's
only
been a while
on
since I've seen
officially
you.
one. I'm the co-chair of the Pacifica network at ASB as well. I don't consider that
Tussie.
a board.
Yes.
But I've also had the privilege of being mentored as part of the Talanoa Institute of Directors program.
That's
So
right.
my governance journey has actually been quite recent, I would say. But my involvement in the community has been
Ongoing.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
So that's a big, part of my development around.
Nice.
Yes, let's have the fun. Let's do all the stuff in terms of, initiatives, etc. But now, how do we actually ensure that the policies, the governance, the system allows for cultural celebration or diversity? But yeah, so that's probably what I'd emphasize, especially with schools. That sense of belonging is so important. So important.
Fussy. This is another word that I know because
Wow. From your last alien upbringing? Or?
Well, no, but as you were talking, I was thinking, in my role as Senior Māori Academic at AUT, I've recently taken on a Pacific Methodologies paper,
Stop it.
qualification number 36.
Hey, today's about me, bro.
No.
Can you just let me have the light?
Well, every day is about.
Far out.
But I'm telling you this because part of what I've noticed is a trend in our awhakasi, so our Māori Pacific people doing two different methodology papers, Māori and Pacific, often Māori Samoan. And so there's this kind of inner challenge around, they want to do both and uphold both.
Wow.
And normally universities are about you either do one or the other. And so fussy I was thinking about, how you're navigating these different spaces.
Yes.
There's I'm not wanting a fight with you, brother. Clearly you would win. But what I'm saying to you is that there is this, I guess what you're kind of also saying underneath is that road of humility. But then there is either a deliberate or an unconscious fight to uphold values and traditions back to you.
That's a beautiful call out. And, I think a lot of the time that notion of, being humble, being respectful, it can easily be misinterpreted and actually taken advantage of, to be honest. Working at a bank and, leading the Pacifica network, what I see a lot of the time is, a lack of confidence because, you feel like you need to always show humility, be submissive to your leader, etc. But, a Samoan value is also around having that courage, respectfully. Again, respect is the value, and you can still stand up for yourself. You can still have those constructive conversations, and you can still be proud of your achievements as an example, in a job interview, in an end of year review, etc., without disrespecting or not honoring your Pacifica values. And I guess for me, it's trying to change that mindset around, absolutely we be respectful, we be humble, but just because you're, proud of yourself and wanting to be ambitious and courageous, just like, our voyagers of the day, we were voyagers. It doesn't mean you're, not following or obeying what you've been taught. And so for me, I really encourage, for any of our listeners of Pacifica descent, when it comes to things like your job interviews, opportunities to, better your brand in a corporate environment or even community spaces, you being proud of your achievements or really backing yourself and respectfully challenging ideologies and asking questions, that's not disrespectful. That's absolutely something you should do.
And I think one of the underlying values that you're talking about is alofa.
Yeah, 100%. Love is very important.
And I know that for me, my values are tika pono and aroha, so integrity, honesty,
beautiful.
and with love.
Yeah, nice.
And so what you're demonstrating is, and this is what I often find with my own Pacific colleagues at AUT, is, that road of how do you do this with humility, but don't mistake humility to be taken advantage of.
Exactly. And that's probably the issue of it, right? Because the reality is a lot of our people are being taken advantage of for that sole reason of, being humble and being a bit more, submissive because,
Yes.
you
It's a
want
fine
to
line.
show your respect and love.
But not for it to be taken advantage of, because I know with my own Pacificainga that there's a fine line between being given the spirit of grace and love
100%.
and then cut.
100% agree. 100% agree. And, that's going to be a continued journey. And for us in the Pacifica space, I'm so privileged that we've been able to kickstart the Pacifica Bankers Collective, which is the, we have collective Pacifica leads from ASB, ANZ, BNZ, Kiwi Bank, Westpac, where we can actually go, let's leave our titles, leave our roles and companies at the door and actually come together and talk about what can we do together to grow the village across Aotearoa in the banking industry. And
is there anything that you can share that you're hoping to achieve in that kind of shed?
Absolutely. It's in its infancy stage, but we're quite unapologetic in the sense that we want to really make a difference.
Yes.
In the community for our people. And all I mean by that is, we want to see more Pacifica people in the banking industry. We want to see more Pacifica in, leadership roles across the bank. But we also want to really make a tangible impact on the community, especially in that financial well-being space. And so, again, it's all in its infancy stage. So we're just in the process of, making sure that we're meeting all the requirements and not, breaching anything, etc. But we're really excited. And the fact that we have this collective and agreed mindset, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm really excited about it. And that's our way of, playing our part.
And it sounds incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
Have you met the person that worked with ComCom to introduce Te Reo Māori and financial capability as being of the same equality as English language when looking at contracts? So that contracts in Māori,
love it.
Financial contracts.
Wow. No, I didn't get the pleasure to meet this person.
Nice to meet you.
Wow.
And so I'm telling you this because what you're talking about.
Stop it.
I mean, this is obviously your podcast, but I'm saying, as you're talking, I'm saying,
just
see the vision, brother, because it can happen.
It can happen, 100%.
Right?
100%.
And at the time when I was working with ComCom and they had approached me to see what we could do, this was like, do you think it could happen? And my response is, how can we make, not could we, but how can we?
Love it.
So hearing this, I mean, one of the things, my kaupapa or vision has always been, how do we leave the back door or front door open for our Pacific cousins to follow through? Because in my logic and thinking, there's no, for me, I don't look at us as you and them. I look at us as cousins across the Pacific shores. And so, anyway, I'm just saying.
I agree with you.
Keep the vision, because you guys
thank you.
And you're a whole collective. Of people, so
no, we're absolutely on board with that too, and unapologetically as well. I know I say that a lot, but we are very firm in our support of our Māori whānau and our Māori strategy, etc.
Yes.
And that's definitely something we believe is very important, honouring our tangata whenua.
And it's a powerful combo. I know, again, at AUT, if our Pacific cousins don't quite get their way, then they invite me to come along and we do what I call a warmly manaki.
I like it.
And that's how we work collectively together.
Nice.
So given that, you've mentioned alofa, what are some other traditional Samoan values that you've carried through language that you think?
Faith is obviously a very important part in our Pacifica community, and our Christian values are heavily influenced in terms of
heavenly influence too.
Heavenly, absolutely. So, that's probably a good example in terms of what gets continued to be carried on. That's probably what mostly comes to mind, and just that faith factor. And how important that is, and the irony of it all is it took Westernization for us to find our faith, but it's a beautiful thing, something that we're very grateful for, and our Christian values are very important in terms of again that what gets passed down from generation to generation, and that influence over our children as well in terms of carrying that on from that perspective. So
Final question
Final question.
Final question.
Bro,
I know.
I was having a good time. Jeez.
We can pull out the cover after this, brother. So, if you could teach one lesson about Samoan culture and language to young people, what would it be?
Wow.
The next generation, Ravi.
Yeah,
so
to the next generation.
You know, imagine your grandkids are listening to this 20, 30 years. What would you want them to know?
It's probably that wha'aloalo, which is respect, you know? So just what I find beautiful is when, you know, we see the strictness of some of our Samoan values come through in comparison, you know, to other communities, which might not be, because how I see it is that's us trying to honor the generations that have passed before us and what was taught to us. And although from the outside in, it might not be seen as, you know, good parenting or the right way to do things. Seriously, it's I personally think it's us trying to honor the generations before us. You know, with every generation that passes, Dr. Alexander, it gets you know, more and more murky in terms of, you know, things like parenting, etc. I'm going on a massive tangent here.
No, do it.
But, you know, I think if we can get that respect factor, you know, really well, it just means that we're going to be that much better for it. And when our kids are young adults, etc., you know, it's not us trying to teach them new values anymore.
Yes.
They're, you know, going to carry on the values, and now it's just about us being mentors for our children. And so when you think about your young kids in the generation coming up, I think that respect, and I mean, I'm not just talking about respect for your elders, I'm talking about just teaching the values of respect overall. You know, manners don't cost anything.
No.
You know, the right bedside manners, etc., the right use of language, you know, the teaching them to, you know, clean up after themselves and serve others, and, you know, put other people before yourself in certain situations, but then also respecting yourself enough to look after yourself, your body, you know, your growing. I think that's really important. And, you know, I think it's something that we as parents need to, you know, continuously look in the mirror. And I'm talking about myself here. Look in the mirror and actually think about what am I doing to make sure that I'm making the most of, you know, my kids. Again, how I shared, they're 10, 7, 8 months. These are the core years for me to teach them around, you know, our key values as a family, and respect is one of the biggest ones out of there. So, you know, to answer your question, it's the one teaching that I would emphasize amongst many other things as additions to it. But overall, I think our kids will go far in life if they, you know, really thrive in that respect factor.
Yes. I know that for me, I mean, I met Seb, which is your oldest one, he was 4. Now he's 11, 12. So I just think time goes by.
It does, brother. And like I said, you know, they're in the critical years of us teaching them, disciplining them.
Yes.
And then, you know, as they get into their teenage years, we become more of a coach for them, you know, life skills, etc. And then by the time they're young adults, we're there to just mentor them and be friends with them, because everything you've taught would have been done by should be.
And that's what I say to my own mentees, for me to see me as your safety net.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Unless you've done something majorly wrong, you don't expect, you know, for me to answer a midnight call, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I like the reference of you looking at the man in the mirror and asking if you'll change your ways.
I'm starting with the man
in the mirror. I love it.
100%.
I love it.
You know, I think about my kids, they're their own multicultural melting pot themselves. You know, wifey is part English, part Welsh, or New Zealand European. I'm half Samoan, half Fijian Indian. So one thing I never ever want them to have is not feel strong or confident in their identity. You know,
beautiful.
And for me, that's probably just as important as everything else in terms of teaching them the values. Just being comfortable in their own skin, being comfortable to be, you know, of representing multiple different cultures, etc. And I never want them to ever be shamed of that or have any type of, you know, whakamā around you know, who they are and the background that they come from. And so, again, to that respect piece, it comes down to them actually showing love for all the other cultures that they have represented in their daily lives through their friends, teachers, etc. But yeah, that's it.
So then, well, almost it. What I was going to say is, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge your mum, because when I was at the service, that was last year, hearing all the stories of your mum back in the islands and then coming into New Zealand, it became really apparent to me where you got your traits from. And I was talking to Mel and Chris, who are mutual friends of mine, because I've often wondered where your passion for kindness and love and generosity had come from. That's and really so nice. When I heard all those stories, it became apparent, and then I became very honoured to know you and that. I can't remember whether I told you this, but I thought, if you ever wanted to know if you were holding your mum's legacy, you absolutely are. And I walked away just feeling a sense of deep pride in knowing you. So much for sharing that, I can't remember if I actually told you that before.
Thank you.
But,
no, you haven't. And
no,
honestly, it's
genuine.
No, I truly believe that, and it's those types of comments that really fill my cup, and it keeps me going that much longer. And I'm, more than open to anyone hearing this that I'm still on my grief journey with mum, and it's a beautiful yet hard experience to have, and so you sharing that means so much to me, brother. Thank you so much.
And I know some listeners, Samoan, that have also lost their mummy's boys too, but nonetheless, the way mums hold a special.
Time passes by, the hurt is still there, but
of course,
you just make it all about making sure you honor their legacy and keeping their legacy alive with your kids, etc.
And then my final thoughts is, I'm just grateful, brother, that I've known you for 8 years.
I know, plus. Bro. I know. That's the last Salient brotherhood, my man. Pound it.
Our journeys seem to intertwine all the time, and I love it. I don't force the VAR. The VAR is here.
It's an honour and a privilege to know you, Dr. Alexander, and
likewise.
I appreciate you, my brother.
Likewise. So on that chipper note of humility and alofa, that's us for another episode. My special guest, Ravi, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, brother, so much for being part of this. The gates of the Upper Marae are now closing.
Choo!
Mauri ora.